At midnight, when most families slept peacefully in their homes, Daniel tossed and turned in bed, uneasy with a strange feeling. Something felt off, but he couldn't place what it was. By morning, his suspicion turned to shock when he discovered his key wouldn't turn in the lock. Confused, he tried again and again, but the door refused to open. In that moment, his heart sank. His home, the very place he had worked years to own, had been tampered with. And the culprit wasn't a stranger or a thief. It was the Homeowners Association. The same people who were supposed to protect the neighborhood's harmony. That shocking discovery was only the beginning of Daniel's fight. A fight that would lead him to install a steel bunker door so strong that no one could ever invade his space again. But what led to this moment? Why would an HOA cross such a personal line? And how could one man's determination change everything about how he defended his home? Stick around, because what happened next is something every homeowner needs to hear. Daniel's story begins years before the midnight lock incident, when he moved into what he thought was a dream neighborhood. Freshly painted houses, manicured lawns, smiling neighbors. It seemed perfect. He believed the HOA fees he paid each month were a fair trade for the order and peace of mind promised by the board. At first, life seemed normal. The HOA sent newsletters about landscaping and held meetings filled with talk of community unity. But behind those polished words lay power-hungry individuals who wanted control more than cooperation. Among them was Karen, the president of the HOA board. She carried herself with a superiority that made others uneasy. Rules were important, yes, but to Karen, they were weapons. When Daniel installed a small garden gnome by his front porch, a cheerful little figure to welcome visitors, Karen left a violation notice on his door the very next morning. Improper lawn ornamentation, it read. Daniel laughed at first, assuming it was a joke. But Karen wasn't laughing. The fines began. $50 here, $100 there, all for things so small they felt absurd. His trash bin was visible from the street for 10 minutes too long? Fine. His shutters weren't painted the exact shade approved by the HOA? Another fine. Neighbors whispered about Karen's strictness, but most were too intimidated to fight back. Daniel, however, wasn't one to back down. He attended meetings, calmly questioned the board's decisions, and asked where all the money from fines and fees was really going. The more he spoke up, the more resistance he faced. Karen's eyes would narrow every time he raised his hand to comment. And as the months passed, her actions toward him grew more aggressive. Still, Daniel never imagined she would cross the line of personal property. That night when his locks were changed, it was the ultimate betrayal. Imagine walking up to your own house, tired after a long day, only to find you're locked out by the very group that claims to safeguard the community. Daniel's blood boiled as he realized what happened. A note taped to the door confirmed it. Access to this property has been restricted until compliance issues are resolved. Signed, HOA President Karen. Restricted? This wasn't a playground or a clubhouse. This was his home, his sanctuary. The note accused him of ongoing violations and declared the board had the right to secure the property until fines were paid. But Daniel knew the truth. This was personal. Karen wanted to break him, to silence the one voice that dared to challenge her authority. Instead, she awakened a storm. He called a locksmith immediately, but even they hesitated, worried about HOA retaliation. Daniel had to stand his ground. With documents in hand proving his ownership and rights, he forced the issue. The locks were changed back, but the message was clear. The HOA would not stop. That night, as he sat in his living room, staring at the new set of keys in his palm, he felt a wave of determination. If they thought fear would break him, they were wrong. He began researching security upgrades, determined to ensure no one could ever lock him out of his own home again. That's when he discovered the idea of a steel bunker door. Heavy-duty, reinforced, virtually indestructible. It wasn't just a door, it was a statement. If Karen wanted a battle, she'd see he wasn't playing games. But before making the investment, Daniel dug deeper into his rights as a homeowner. He spoke with lawyers, researched cases, and discovered countless stories of HOAs overstepping their bounds. Families fined into bankruptcy, homeowners threatened with foreclosure over paint colors, and people like him, singled out for speaking up. Each story fueled his resolve. By the time the steel bunker door was installed, gleaming silver and nearly impossible to breach, Daniel wasn't just protecting his home. He was making a stand for every neighbor too afraid to raise their voice. The door installation day drew curious looks from the street. Neighbors whispered as the massive frame was bolted into place. Karen herself marched over, demanding an explanation. "This is unacceptable. This isn't within community standards," she barked. But Daniel, calm and firm, replied, "This isn't just a door. This is my right to secure my property, and no midnight lock change will ever happen again." The confrontation didn't stop there. Karen tried issuing violation notices, claiming the door didn't fit the aesthetic of the neighborhood. But Daniel had anticipated her moves. He filed formal complaints, brought in legal counsel, and documented every interaction. For once, the power balance shifted. Other homeowners, inspired by his courage, began sharing their own frustrations. They questioned fees, demanded transparency, and stood together. Karen, once untouchable, began losing her grip. But the battle wasn't easy. There were meetings filled with tension, letters full of threats, and moments when Daniel wondered if the fight was worth it. Yet every time he walked past that bunker door, he remembered why he couldn't give up. This wasn't just about him. It was about fairness, freedom, and the simple dignity of feeling safe in one's own home. As weeks turned into months, the HOA board finally faced accountability. A vote was called. Neighbors, tired of Karen's iron fist, voted her out. New leadership stepped in, promising transparency and balance. For Daniel, it was a victory not just of policy, but of spirit. He hadn't just installed a door, he had built a wall against injustice. His story became a symbol in the neighborhood, a reminder that standing up isn't easy, but it's necessary. And though the scars of that midnight lock change lingered, they also became his strength. In the end, Daniel's bunker door wasn't just steel and bolts. It was resilience, defiance, and the unshakable belief that no one, not even a powerful HOA, had the right to strip away what he had earned. And as he stood in front of his home, keys in hand, he whispered a promise to himself: never again. So, if you've ever felt powerless against unfair rules, remember Daniel's story. Remember that even in the darkest midnight, you can fight back and reclaim your light. And if this story inspired you, don't forget to like this video, share it with others who need hope, and subscribe for more powerful stories. Because sometimes, the strongest walls are built not of steel, but of courage.